Hey, this is Derek Depker, founder of ExcuseProof.com and #1 best-selling author. I want to share with you in this video a profound lesson I learned about visualization and what success means, and ultimately why visualizing success can backfire based on some research that I've discovered and also some personal experience with myself and some of the most successful people that I've seen. Now, first of all, you might be wondering what I mean by visualizing success, and perhaps you've heard of this idea, especially if you hear anything about the law of attraction, this idea that you visualize the outcome that you want, visualize the car that you want, visualize the house that you want, the relationship, and you see the life, you see the outcome. Maybe even you make a vision board that you put this on, and you imagine that, and you can see yourself being successful in your mind's eye, and if you focus on that, and if you get rid of any limiting beliefs, you'll naturally draw it to you and attract it to you. Well, is that how it really works? Now, I give a little bit of a disclaimer. I'm not completely rejecting that, but there could be a serious downside to that. And let's look at some research that's come out that might surprise you if you haven't heard about this. Now, one research study had students do a couple different things. Some of the students visualized themselves being really successful on a test, and that's all they did, visualize themselves being successful. Other students just visualized themselves going through the process of studying for the test and doing all the things to prepare, and a third group of students didn't visualize anything. You know who did bad on the test? The people who visualized themselves being successful on it. Especially compared to the people who visualized themselves going through the process. They did much better. They got better grades. Well, wait a second. They visualized success and they did worse? What does this mean? Well, think about this. Isn't it possible to be overconfident? Isn't it possible that I think, oh, there won't be bad traffic. I'll show up on time. And then I get in the car and it's like, damn it, there's traffic. It's a big thing that I fall into. I'm just so optimistic that I actually don't prepare for the real world challenges. That's what they found. See, that visualizing success can lead to overconfidence that, well, it's all just going to work out. Why do I have to work towards it? Now, there's another thing that happened, and a different type of study, different context, was they had some college students that had a crush on someone. So they imagine one scenario. I imagine going into the room. They're the only one in there. We lock eyes. We fall madly in love. It's great. It's a wonderful fantasy. Other students just imagine going up to them, telling them, being asked out and making up something like, well, I have a boyfriend, right? So it didn't work out. Now, what ended up happening? Well, months later, they tracked it. People with a positive fantasy were less likely to have come forward to their crush about their feelings or to end up pursuing anything with that person compared to the people who had what would be maybe more of a neutral or negative visualization. So let me give this a little bit more context. Have you ever done something like this? Something I've done. I fantasize about an amazing reality. Maybe my business is doing really well. I publish this book and it'll be a bestseller. Or I go up to this person and we fall in love and it all works out and everything's wonderful. But then I think about actually doing something about it and I get scared. Why? Because think about this. If I actually pursue it and it doesn't work out, if the person asks this person out and they say no, what's happened? Now the reality kind of sucks. They didn't get what they wanted in reality, but now their fantasy that made them feel so good, now that's crushed. This explains why you may experience this for yourself, or it can be obvious to see it in another person. I can look at someone else and they're like, I really want this, but I'm scared to do anything about it. It's like, well, what's the harm? If you don't even try, then of course you're not going to be successful. Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. But see, they are losing something. There is harm in trying because they'll lose their fantasy of it. And sometimes, is it possible to be so attached to a fantasy that it takes priority over reality? Are you willing to sacrifice your fantasy for an unsure reality? Because at least I know the fantasy is safe and intact. But as soon as reality conflicts with that, oh, this person doesn't like me. Well, now I can't even fantasize about it anymore. And at least have that hope, that feeling of maybe, what if? So the fantasy world can trump the reality world with these visualizations. Well, is there a way around this? I mean, am I saying that we just get rid of visualizing positive outcomes? Well, the simple answer that you may have heard as well. You can have a positive expectation or hope things go well, but don't be too attached to it. That sounds nice. It's not anything practical. But I actually found for myself, there was one thing that I did that shifted everything. And it made visualizing success actually work. And you notice this from the research. It's a hint. When they focused on the process, then they were successful. Well, consider this. Before I get into that, what if you could visualize an outcome, a positive outcome, and you actually got it all the time, whenever you want it? I'm just going to visualize winning the lottery so freaking hard, and then boom, I win the lottery. Make millions of dollars, right? But have you ever heard about lottery winners who end up losing it all or being worse off? It actually happens a number of times. And what if you do get the amazing relationship that you want? You finally meet the person you fall madly in love, and then the next day, break up, over, done. Or maybe a year later. Is that what you want? You finally get in great shape, and then you lose it all. Does this happen to people? Do people get exactly what they want only to lose it all? Well, imagine I'm a magic genie and you say, Derek, I want to have $10 million. I want to have this relationship. And I go, great, here it is. And now I take it back. I gave you what you wanted. Oh, you wanted to keep it? Oh, see, having it and keeping it are two different things. See, if you want to keep that money, if a person wins the lottery and they want to keep it, see, it's not enough to have the money. They got to know what to do with that money. They got to know how to be a person that can manage money and do the things day in and day out to keep and grow that money. You want to maintain a great relationship. It's not enough to have it. You have to do the things day in and day out to nourish that relationship, to keep it alive and to keep it growing. That's a very different thing than just simply getting an outcome in the moment. You see, when I had that appreciation, something shifted in me. When I started out, I did visualize when I started out with health and fitness and getting in shape. I did visualize myself being in great shape, and I saw it, and I think that was important to build my confidence that it was possible. So it had its place, but then I set it aside and focused on something else. And years later, I started visualizing that I fell into the hole. Well, maybe if I just visualize the checks coming to my bank account. I visualized myself driving the Lamborghini after my business makes all this money. Oh yeah, it feels so good. I didn't make the money. Nothing happened until I did one thing. See, I stopped focusing on the outcome and I started focusing on doing the frickin' work day in, day out. I started visualizing myself going through the process, showing up in the world as the person I needed to be to have those things. And why did I do that? What shifted? Was it a conscious thing? No, something shifted in here. It was my definition of success. Success was no longer an outcome. It was no longer an event. It was a way of being, a way of showing up in the world. You see, it's no longer about seeing myself, visualizing myself winning the race and winning the gold medal. No, it's visualizing myself training hard, giving it everything I can within reason, showing up to the race, running at 100%, and I cross the finish line and I am a success without even knowing what place I came in. Because see, here's the illusion. If I came in first place, am I a success? Well, what if I let that go to my head and I become complacent and I stop doing the things that got me to that point? Do I go, won the gold medal, I'm done, just gonna relax on the beach for the rest of my life. That's it, don't have to do anything else. But see, that feeling of success would fade very quickly, and I know that. But see, if I lost, does that mean I wasn't successful? Oh, so you showed up at 100%. It's not whether you win or lose, it's how you played the game. Well, there's a lot of truth to that. Because see, if I lose, but I look at the people who won as my allies, and I go, how did they train? What did you do differently? I gave it my all, but maybe you know a more effective system. See, there's a benefit to looking at outcomes because it can show you the effectiveness of what you're doing. How did they train? Did they do something different? Maybe they're just genetically superior. Doesn't matter because I feel like a success. And how does this play out practically? Because see, imagine a person who has a goal that's 3 months away. They're not feeling successful until they get it, other than in their little fantasy world. So it's, I'm a failure until I visualize it or until I achieve it. And they only feel successful once every, blue moon when they reach these big goals they have. But see, with me and with the successful people I know, the most successful people I know, they're always feeling like a success because it was how I showed up today. I showed up, I did that workout, and I didn't feel like doing it. I recorded this video, whether I feel like doing it or not. I do the things and I align to the principles that I know to be true, and that's the way I show up in the world. And I see myself showing up as my highest potential self. I see myself facing any obstacle and showing up at 100% despite any obstacles. And when I visualize that, it doesn't matter what the outcome is. Because when I live that way, naturally, then the success started happening. Of course I'm going to attract the successful, great outcomes and benefits when I show up as the person who would just naturally attract those things. So my question for you is this: how do you define success? Because there's no right or wrong in visualizing success. But whether it works or it backfires is all about the person doing the visualization and how they define that word, success. This is Derek Depker. If you'd like more tips on how to transform your life and want to check out any of my books and get updates on these videos, you can check out the link below this video, subscribe to this channel or page. As always, I love to hear your feedback and comments. Take care.